GAC, how's it going? Congratulations on the snow day. Man, what an awesome feeling waking up this morning and realizing that we get to have school online today. And so again, I appreciate y'all for watching this video. And again, hope you have a relaxing, restful, and productive day today. As I start, I'm actually in Bradford right now. I just can't stay away. I'm in the Bradford closet, I guess, or something. There's a beanbag behind me on my right. There's a popcorn machine on my other side. So again, here, as we start, I just want to make sure that I communicate with you kind of the expectations for Cyber Day. Now, I understand that we won't be as productive in class on a Cyber Day as in class, but what I want to do is just talk a little bit with you over what the logistics will look like. One of the logistics I want to talk to you about is just what is due. The expectation is that, number one, you watch the video. Number two, my expectation is that you get started on the project, and I'll discuss that a little bit more in depth later on. And then number three is kind of an optional thing that I would prefer you to do, but I know that you have other classes, so again, it won't be a requirement. The third expectation is that I want you to get started on your homework there. If you do number two, maybe you get started with number two, but then number three, you get started on as well. That's fine. It's not due come Friday, but what's going to happen is the project's going to be due come Wednesday, and so I want to make sure that all is well concerning that. So again, as far as the project is concerned, we're going to discuss that. But before I do, let me do this for us. Let me screen share something, and the reason why I want to screen share let me pull up, not that, I want to pull up this. Perfect. All right, as I've pulled this up here. All right, let's do this. Let's go to 3.1, and we talked about 3.1a. What I'd like to do is just quickly discuss what 3.1a looked like. Remember, we did the first, second, third, and even some of the fourth all together. And some of you in one of my classes, I know I even got through this full thing and even got even further into the next part. Remember that this whole podcast of 3.1a I did in class, and you could find that also under 3.1 under haiku section 3.1. All right. Remember this. Remember we talked over compound interest and continuously compounded interest. And we talked over what it would look like if we had how different compounded interest, depending on when it is compounded, can affect the amount of your investment or the amount of debt that you're accumulating over time. Remember that when I talked through this, some classes I did, some classes I didn't, so I'll quickly go through it. The A equals P e to the RT. Remember that this base E is dealing with exponential, right? And it's a number that, if you remember in the previous years when I came dressed as Descartes, yes, some of you still know that memory still to this day. I will never live that down. And I was actually thinking about coming in as Jacob Bernoulli, but I thought, that's probably not a good thing. So we just know that the origin of the number E is originated from him, and we use it for when we compound interest or we use it for exponential equations. And so anytime I compound continuously, we'll use the following below. All right. Now on top, we look and we notice that the amount that we're trying to find is equal to P, which is my principal, the amount of money that I invest, times 1 plus R, which is the rate of the investment, over N. N is the amount of times it compounds per year. So if you say it compounds daily, the N will then be 365. If you say compounds quarterly, that'll be 4. All right, and then finally that T deals with time. T is dealing with time in terms of years. All right, so as I continue forward, I want to just quickly go over with you what it would look like if I had a problem such as this. It states in exercise 55 to 58, complete the table, determine the balance A for P dollars invested at rate R for T years and compounded N times per year. What that means is if I have N in terms of 1, 2, 4, 12, 365, what I want to do is use number 56 to find out over the course of time how this would change. So if I'm looking for my A equals, and let's use let's do this. Let's hop right to 2, okay? The principal that I'm investing is $1,000. And we know that it's multiplied by 1 plus R. R is the rate, which is 0.06, over N. N is, in this case, 2. So we'll put 2 in there. And that will be to the 2 times, and then the T would be 10 there. Okay, so the 2 times 10, and we're kind of working going forward. So the big thing that we want to do is work inside the parentheses, then take it to the exponent, and then multiply by 1,000. If we go out of order in that way, we could end up having a mess. So as I do it, you could do it as well. If I get an inside, I should get 1.03, and it should be to the 20th power. Okay, so 1.03 to the 20th power. Let's see what we get. 1.8, and what I'll do is, and really to be honest, I'm rounding right now, but what I would do is keep it in your calculator when you move forward, okay? So you're going to keep this in. Then I'm going to multiply by 1,000, and when I multiply by 1,000, I should get $1,806.11. Okay, so $1,806.11. And I know it's hard to fit it in there, but in your table, I expect you to show work here and then continue down below. Okay, so again, this was number 56. Now, what would change if I did 365? Well, you guessed it. If it's daily, compounded daily, or monthly with 12, the only thing that will change will be N. Or now, if it's 365, the N would be 365 instead of 2. Okay, and again, 2 would be like semi-annually there. Now, let's go to the next one. Let's go when it's continuous, because again, I think we get the what's up above, and if you don't, please text me, email me, do whatever you need to do. I am available for you, okay? Again, if you need to text me, you know my number, and then we'll rock and roll from there. So now, what if we had now compounded continuously? Well, it would now be A equals 1,000, which is my principal, e to the RT power. So R in this case would be 0.06. T would be in terms of years, which would be 10, okay? So if I were to do this, remember to do E, you do second ln, okay? Second ln, you'll get e to the 0.06 times 10, or you could just do it by 0.6. I guess that'd be fine. Then I'll multiply by 1,000. Again, make sure you don't round until the very end, because that's going to affect your answer. If we compound it continuously, we get $1,822.12. Now the question becomes, which is the better investment? If you had 2 that had the same rate and you were investing the same principal over the same course of the same years, which would be the best investment for you? Well, you could use these formulas to be able to figure that out. And that's really where we're going to end up heading to within our project. All right. So again, I think we get that one. If you have any questions, please email me at that. Again, you could also look at this. This is actually pretty powerful. If you'd like to kind of do this here, get that to me. Tell you what, if you get this problem to me, this one as well as this one, actually just the blue one. If you just get the blue one to me, text me the answer, and you get it correct, I've got something for you in my room come Thursday or Friday, okay? So again, that will be something just small going forward, all right? So now look at the next one. This one right over here can be a little bit tricky. This is 63. And I wanted to do one because a lot of times these are ones that can be, again, very, very tricky with how you would approach it. Well, the first thing they do is they say use a graphing utility to graph the demand function for X, where X is greater than 0 and where P is greater than 0. So remember the P now, if we were looking at a chart, P would be in terms of my Y, where X is just X. So what we're doing is we're just looking at the first quadrant. So that's what that means. So if I were to graph this here, 1 minus parenthesis 4 divided by, and make sure you use extra parentheses. I wish I had my calculator up here, but just make sure you use extra parentheses, because what's going to happen is if you're not careful, you could mess up big time. Okay, so putting all of this values in, hopefully you're doing the same there. Again, extra parentheses. All right, making sure of it, and then I'm going to graph it. Okay. Now, again, you might have to go to Zoom Standard first, and I still don't see it. Let's see, I might put it in wrong, but let's go to Zoom Fit here. Okay, and as I look at Zoom Fit, I notice that it looks something, and maybe yours looks a little different, but mine looks something like this right here, okay? So it looks something like that. And I know it actually crosses over here. It should go this way. So it actually crosses over on that side. But all I'm concerned with, remember, is within this quadrant. That's all I'm looking for. So the next one says, find the price P for demand of X equals so many units. Well, in doing this, what I'd like to do is I'd like to calculate, like what a value is. So if I plug in, like if you go to second calc and then you go to where the value is, if you plug in 500, it'll actually give you exactly what the Y is. So again, if you go here and go to second calc, if you go there, then when you plug in 500 in for X, 500 in for X, you understand then once you get to this point that you can then end up solving that and going from there, all right? So now when I figure this out here, I know that at 500 units, I will then have 421.12, which if you were getting it, we just do 421 units, all right? Because, again, you can't have 0.12 of a unit in that way, all right? Now, and look in the next one. It says, use the graph in part A to approximate the highest price that will still yield the demand of at least 600 units. Now, remember when we're talking about price, the price is P, right? And when we talk about that price, we're talking X is the amount of units there. So what we're saying is when we have that, what is the highest price that will still yield a demand of 600 units? Well, it's really just another way of saying, well, let's look at this. When it's at 600, the point when it's at 600 units for my X, my Y will end up turning out into 350. 350, and actually this is not 421 units. If I went back up here, I apologize. This is units. This is actually our price, right? That's our price, $421.12. So if I came back here, it'd be 1.13. So 600, 350.13. So if I were to say this, what is the highest price that will still yield a demand of at least 600 units? Well, the highest price that will still give me that would be $350.13. Okay. Again, I could end up raising or lowering that or doing what have you in that way. But remember, if I raise the price based on the graph, if that price gets raised, what happens to the demand? Well, it goes lower and lower. So if 600's right here, what I'm saying is what is the price that produces that demand? So at least, okay, at least in that way, the highest price I can get for 600 units is 350.13. All right. And again, with D, you could throw out, again, what I'm concerned with is that you're able to use your calculator going forward. All right. Now, as we pause, I want to just show you real quick with my screen share here where all of this stuff will be. Again, this video will be on a link, so I'll send this link out. But also, if you notice about right in here, you'll notice that, let me get this here. Let me get this up and running. If you notice right in here, right in that area, that compound interest project right in the middle, that will be on section 3.1. That right there is what I'd like for you to work on. So again, please do not do anything, or please do something. Don't just do nothing. Please work on that project, and we'll go from there. So talking about project, when you open up your project, this is what is going to be given to you. And remember that this project is due on Wednesday, but you can't wait, okay? That's the big thing, is you can't wait going forward. There have been, if I'm honest, there have been a lot of people who have waited to the last minute on things. And so be careful on that. Don't do that per se. Make sure you're good to go, all right? All right, awesome. Now, in this example, I want to just quickly look at a couple things. One of the problems I want to highlight is the one I just screenshotted, number 2. Now, in this project, a couple things need to occur. I'm going to go through all the details about the business and what the project will look like there. I want you to at least look at some of these problems and attempt to do all of them. Now, like numbers 1 and 3, now some of them might be a little bit longer because it changes the years and changes options and that sort of thing. But all of these things should be fairly simple for you to execute, okay? So all of this stuff is stuff like compounded annually. That's what we just did. That's where n is equal to 1, okay? Compounded quarterly is 4, and continuously is the base E formula there. Number 2, maybe even number 3 a little, or not number 3, I'm sorry, 3 is good. Number 4, maybe a little bit. Number 5, maybe a little bit. And then obviously the bonus might be a little tricky. But those things right there are stuff that I'm going to look at. I'm going to look at just one here that kind of is going to allow you to process it and truly think through that process, all right? This is the rubric by which I'll grade you, so you can just kind of keep that in the back of your mind going forward. Also, again, you can have a business partner. So if you have someone's number in our class that you can call and kind of talk through and work with on this, by all means, you can work with each other on this to the point where you can even divvy up the work in that way. But I've got to make sure that when you turn it in, I see work equally for both parties involved. All right? All right, fantastic. All right, so here's the thing. I want to go one more time to this Active Inspire here. I want to go one more time through it, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly do this problem to make sure that you understand what the idea is, okay? I'm going to take this and kind of put it in here. And while I do that, I'm going to screen share this. There we go. All right, and I'm going to blow this up. All right, so number 2 on this one is one that's a little bit tricky. Now, the whole process is not necessarily hard in how you set it up, but it's what you do when you go forward, all right? You deposit $25,000 to an account that accrues interest for 40 years. The account pays 8% compounded annually. So let's stop there. We know that the amount equals $25,000 times 1 plus rate is 0.08 over N. N would be compounded annually, so N would be 1. And then the T would be over the course of 40 years. So 40 would be that T there, all right? Now, after I plug in that formula, again, that's not something that's difficult. We've done that plenty of times before, so we're good to go on that. So I'm just going to plug that in. So remember to do inside first, 1 plus 0.08. We know that's 1.008 there. We'll take that to the 40th power, and then we'll multiply it by 25,000, okay? And when I do that over the course of 40 years, this will accrue 54. I want to make sure I did this right here. 1.08 to the 40th power, because it's over the course of 40 years. And make sure I've got my formula right here. Let's see. Let's see if we got it right. Yeah, was right. It's just really, really high because we kept it in there for so long. So because of that, if you think about it, now we've got $543,113.04. Okay, so that right there would be the amount of money that I have on that, and that's the amount of money that I made within my investment. Remember, 8% is pretty high too, so that kind of have it as well. Now, if that's the total amount that I have, what would be my interest? Well, I could find my interest by doing my total minus my initial. Okay, so if I did that, I'd do that subtracted from 25,000, and I would get 51,000, and this would be my interest right here. So I'm putting that here. Interest would be $518,113.04. Okay. Now you might say, Coach, why did I do that? Well, look at part 2. It says assume that there's an income tax on the interest, that on the interest is 30%. Which of the following plans produce a larger balance after all the income tax is paid? So you can either, in tax, you can either defer it, meaning the income tax on the interest that is earned is paid on one lump sum at the end of 40 years. Meaning, after this whole thing, I could take 40% of that, which if I did, all right, or I'm sorry, 30%. If I did 30% in one lump sum, I would get $155,433. That would be subtracted because this is the taxes, right? So $155,433.91. So if I subtracted that from my original, that would end up getting me how much I would pay in interest, and then make sure you add it to the total of 25,000. Okay, so again, right there, because that's my interest, taxed on interest, and then added the 25,000 there. Now that's option A, right? That's option A. That's at the very end. But the deferred states that the income tax and the interest that is earned each year is paid at the end of each year. So you might say, well, Coach, what could I do there to be able to figure that out with a not deferred there? Well, that's what I want you to really figure out. I want you to really think through that process. You know that we just talked over the deferred part. Now I want you to think about what you would do with a not deferred part. Again, this would be at the very, very end. What could I do maybe with my total in that way, or with my equation, to be able to figure out how much tax would be taken out from year to year? And so again, that's something that I want you to think about, think through. And if you have any more questions, I can talk about it in class. Again, this is not due come Friday, but I want to make sure you at least work on it and have an idea going forward, all right? Hey, I appreciate it so much. This is Coach Johnson from Bradford. Hopefully you have had a great day. And again, just get busy. Do as much as you can. I'm not trying to kill you, but again, I want you to do at least something regarding that project today. Maybe do 2 or 3. Maybe that's a good goal to try to at least attempt them. You'll be in good position come Friday. Hey, love you all so much. Have a great day. See y'all later. Bye.